Assalamualaikum. Hey guys. Today we'll be discussing about the EPF, the Employees Provident Fund, or in Malay it's called the KWSP, the Kumpulan Wang Simpanan Pekerja. Now, why this fund specifically? The EPF manages the Compulsory Savings Fund and Retirement Plan for private sector workers. Now, why is this significant? For the scope of this video, I'm only sticking to the basics. But for the rest of it, like the emergency withdrawals and all the other stuff like investing, I'll be covering in a future video. So, stay tuned for that. Now let's talk about why EPF is one of the best funds we have. Now, what is the EPF and why is it important? Essentially, the EPF is a retirement saving account. Corporate profile has a lot of information that you can go through to determine whether or not EPF is something that you would want to self-contribute to. And you can see specifically in the customer charter section that they've delivered on a lot of their goals already. The facts at a glance can also provide adequate insight into its 70-year-long tenure. Now, why did I say self-contribute to in the first place? Well, once you start working, your employer is obligated to commit to your retirement fund, as will you. Aside from these two contributions, however, that's what I mentioned that you could self-contribute if you'd like. Do note that no matter how short of a time frame you're working with a company, be it 1 day, 1 week, 1 month or a year, you are obligated to have your EPF regardless of if you're a contract worker or if you're working permanent. If you'd like to know more, you can search up the EPF Act 1991. Now, the EPF has two accounts, Account 1 and Account 2. No duh. Account 1 is meant for withdrawal upon retirement. Of course, there are some exceptions, like if you're leaving the country, if you've passed away, or if you're facing permanent disability. These exceptions are listed on the company website as well. If you'd like to give that a read, here's the link. Do note that in the case of death, the EPF funds will be given to a nominee instead. This is why it's important to set up a nominee ahead of time in case anything were to happen. This can save time and money for your next of kin, your relative or your family that might need your money in that absence. Upon retirement, you can withdraw all the funds at once from your Account 1 and your Account 2 into full withdrawals, partial withdrawals, or set up a monthly withdrawal scheme. Now, 70% of the contributions is locked away in your Account 1. Given that you can only withdraw upon retirement, this gives the money a lot of time to build up with the dividends given out every single year. Now, that part will be covered in Part 3. Meanwhile, Account 2 is used for early preparations for your retirement, which means you can withdraw it before you retire. This could be for many reasons, like the down payment on your first house, or for medical reasons, or for financing your education or your kids' education. For Account 2, the remaining 30% of the contributions are sent here instead. Upon reaching age 50, you may choose to withdraw completely from your Account 2, but it is best left behind for dividend yield purposes. Just like Account 1, you can have it as a full withdrawal, partial withdrawal, or monthly withdrawal schemes. By the time you're 55 and eligible for withdrawal from both accounts, it will be transferred to another account for the withdrawal option selected. As mentioned earlier, it's recommended that you do either a partial or a monthly withdrawal scheme instead, as you'll still have money left behind to compound on the dividends given yearly. That's pretty much a basic covering of what exactly Accounts 1 and 2 can do for you. Now, let's get to the pros and cons of EPF. Pros. First of all, the EPF has a guarantee by the government to pay out 2.5% bare minimum for the yearly dividends. Now, this is a bit higher compared to fixed deposit, but at least it's safely guaranteed by the government. And when compared against fixed deposit, you could argue that EPF is a better investment plan overall. Do note that this 2.5% guarantee is only for conventional accounts and not Sharia accounts. Now, you might be asking why. Now, the reason why Sharia accounts don't have this guarantee is because it's based on Sharia compliant investments and its actual performance. I would go into detail for this topic, but it would make the video a bit too long. Since I'm only doing the basics, the link is down below for your reference. And speaking of Sharia account, do note that you can only switch to Sharia account once, but note that this switch is irreversible. Now, this is to avoid any attempt to speculate and arbitrage on the dividends between conventional and Sharia accounts. The dividend return isn't that far apart anyway between the two accounts, so if you would prefer your investment to be more Sharia friendly, it's okay to switch over to Sharia account instead. Now, the second pro is the locked liquidity. What does this mean? Because the money is kept in an account up until your retirement age, you are unable to withdraw. This sounds like a bad thing, and that's the only con behind EPF if you think about it. But with this locked liquidity, the money contributed year on year will be able to snowball due to the dividends also given by the fund. If you want examples on the calculation for this kind of dividend payout, you can refer to the link below. Do note in these examples that they use contribution rate in third schedule. Now, speaking of the con earlier of locked liquidity, it may seem like a double-edged sword, but it's for our own good. Considering how a study in 2015 by Bank Negara Malaysia found that 75% of Malaysians would find it a challenge to raise 1,000 ringgit for any emergency. With forced restrictions like this, we learned the hard way that sikit-sikit lama-lama jadi bukit. If you want to know more about basic personal finance, I made a video back in March, of which you can refer to the link below or in the top right. At the very least, we are guaranteed some retirement money by the time we retire, even considering our excessive spending habits, or if we lose money due to other reasons out of our control. That's pretty much the only con for short-term investors anyway. Now let's move on to the returns. For the year 2020, the conventional savings dividend was 5.2%, while Sharia savings was 4.9%. These are considerably good returns given how COVID has been ravaging economies across the world, last year, this year, and, if we're not lucky, next year as well. You could argue that the COVID situation was well controlled last year compared to this year, and that might be a reason for why the dividend payout was still okay. We'll just have to see how the dividend payout this year plays out. Whatever the case, EPF is still historically a better investment compared to fixed deposits. Now, despite this, people have said that they would withdraw from their EPF accounts given the 3 withdrawal programs available last year and this year. Of course, nobody can blame people for withdrawing in their time of need, because money locked up would be of no use to anyone if basic needs are not met. So a lot of people who did their withdrawing from their EPF accounts would put them into food, utilities, rent, etc. Given how hard COVID has hit everyone, this is completely understandable. Of course, given how you have to wait until retirement before you can withdraw this money, it would make sense to take some of these funds and put them into something more liquid, like let's say EPF, fixed deposit even, because you don't have to wait until retirement to withdraw from your fixed deposit, stocks, unit trusts, crypto. These are the options provide better accessibility in the future should this COVID pandemic continue. Personally, I've known of a few people who've taken advantage of these withdrawal programs to make use of this money into other accessible platforms. Mostly, people have been putting this money into stocks and crypto due to its, even though volatile, better returns depending on how well you know the markets. Just like in the ASB video, top right, here are the historical returns for the EPF fund. Given that EPF was established in 1950, it's very good to see that they've had consistent good returns all these years. Though on the outside, it may seem that ASB has a lot more funds to choose between ASM, ASB1, ASB2, etc. But the EPF would be a good option to have on the side. Of course, diversification depends on your risk appetite. Now, to close this video, the EPF is great. With money locked until retirement, Malaysians can practice financial discipline in peace, knowing that all their monthly contributions from themselves, their employers, and if they choose to self-contribute, will grow into something worthwhile in the end. Now, there's a lot of topics in this video that I didn't cover, like the 3 withdrawal programs I mentioned earlier, as well as EPF investing. Those will be in a separate video, just to make sure this video isn't too cluttered, as I'm only covering the basics. If you found this video informative, leave a like, subscribe, follow us on our social media platforms right here. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below or on social media as well. We'll do our best to address them. And we appreciate any form of feedback or any form of criticism that we get from our videos. Videos like these take time to research, so please forgive me if the next video takes some time to release. Until then, stay safe and take care.